I did some talking during the inaugural session. Now my talk is basically with a theme which was given to me by Dr. Nagendra, that I should be highlighting the techno-strategic powerhouse India and architecting deep tech sovereignty for Viksit Bharat at 2047. While I was ready to talk about science and technology in general, then I tailored my talk basically what are the meaning of different things. So as I mentioned in my inaugural talk, the basic issue today is, which is the biggest question. For last 78 or 79 years after independence, we are continuing to remain in the list of developing nations. The biggest question today is how India should transform itself from a developing nation to a developed nation. In the journey since 1947, country has achieved major milestones. From a food-hungry nation, today we have surplus food grains. From an industrial infrastructure, which was hardly anything in 1949-50s, today we have a sprawling industrial infrastructure both in public sector and private sector. You name the field, whether it is aircraft, whether it is pharmaceuticals, whether it is all implements. From the research and development ecosystem and institutions of higher education, we have multiple agencies, IITs, NITs, ISCs, universities, central universities, From national laboratories which are contributing immensely to every sector, DRDO, ISRO, space and atomic energy, ICAR, CSIR and so on. So country has really built. And today in terms of achievements, we are in the space. We have atomic energy reactors, we have submarines, we have ships, we have aircrafts which are being manufactured. So we have made a tremendous journey through the kind of science and technology ecosystem we have created so far. But the fact still remains that we are still a nation which is dependent on huge amount of technologies that come from outside, except for few departments who have given tremendous amount of inputs in terms of self-reliance. For example, DRDO in the area of missiles, atomic energy in the area of reactors, space department going into moon and so on. So a variety of things have happened. But still, our GDP is largely based upon service-oriented growth. And that service-oriented growth also took place after IT revolution happened, where the huge amount of work was done by our IT experts, IT-enabled services, which resulted in that 62% of our GDP comes from that sector. And the manufacturing sector is hardly anything. So that is where our focus has to be if we have to become a developed nation. And this point was very immensely highlighted, I mentioned to you, by our Honorable Prime Minister, that S&T with participation of youth is the main strategy for transforming India from a developing nation to a developed nation. And I would like to quote our Honorable Prime Minister, who said, "It is our scientific capabilities that will determine our ability to overcome challenges which lie ahead of us in areas such as climate change, clean energy, environment-friendly technologies, water management, affordable healthcare, food security, and biotechnology. Solutions should be found in the laboratory in a timely manner," mind the word, timely manner, "and then must move out of laboratory quickly," and that again, mind the word, quickly, find wider acceptance. And this wider acceptance is not just recognition. It is converting these outputs of science into products and products into economic and hence towards developed nation. Now, to decide whether we are developed or not developed, the Viksit Bharat concept has been promoted by our Honorable Prime Minister. So there are various factors which are dictated by what is called Viksit Bharat, which we want to achieve at the 100th year of our independence. And the idea of Viksit Bharat includes that we should have empowered citizens, which should focus on universal access to healthcare, education, skill development, and an inclusive workforce. You should have a sustainable economy where there is a focus on green infrastructure, renewable energy, and sustainable agriculture, and many other parameters. I am quoting a few only here. The growth should be driven by technology, where aspirational to be of a global leader in all the emerging disruptive technologies, Since morning, we have heard many names: artificial intelligence, quantum technologies, robotics, and so on and so forth. And the implementation has to be in a collaborative manner with a continuous engagement with private sector, international partners, and civil society to ensure effective execution. Just before, during the session, there was a gentleman, one of my old acquaintance probably here, who asked me, "Sir, we have been talking about industry, academia, interaction for last 40, 50 years, but why it has not happened? Why still it remains a question mark?" I think the answer lies on both sides. It is an industry which is not ready to take the scientific outputs of the laboratories because they don't know what is the utilization of that. It is the scientific institutions who do not know how to meet the demands of the industry. There is a vast gap. The chasm which is between the two of them is responsible for this isolation. There are a lot of efforts being made today, but I think there is some more is required to be done. There has been improvement, but much more is to be done. And our Honorable Prime Minister set the goal that $30 trillion should be our economy in 2047. We should be carbon neutral, and we should have job creation through deep tech industries. That is the one, not just the surface industry. We should have job creation through the deep tech industries. Now the rule for that is to be Viksit Bharat, one has to be Atmanirbhar Bharat. Because Atmanirbhar Bharat has different connotations. Some people think that everything should be manufactured, designed, developed in India. That's not the correct approach. Atmanirbharta means independence from controls. I come from an organization which is a defense research and development organization. I have faced during my days of an active researcher in 80s, 90s and 2000, how we were subjected to missile technology control regimes which led to non-availability of major technologies, materials, software, hardware, computers. You all know that the high-performance computer like Cray was denied to us. We have seen those days, and despite such an opposition, these organizations collectively have been able to develop missiles that India is today self-reliant in that area. So independence from control in all areas, defense technologies, high-end manufacturing, semiconductors, and critical raw materials. Today, there is a huge talk about critical raw materials and the rare earths. Medical and pharmaceutical industries. Are you aware of the fact that during the COVID time, we were denied all the active pharmaceutical ingredients from China, leading to the paracetamol, which normally costs about 40-50 paisa a tablet, being sold at 40 rupees, and it was not available. Now, that is the kind of independence we have to have. Aviation and space technology, most of our aviation, particularly the aircraft technology, is largely dependent on import. So we need to get out of this. And this story, if it continues, and if we do not live up to the requirement of the disruptive technologies which are emerging like AI, quantum, and so on, and do self-reliant in that, we'll have problems. So if you want to strengthen the sovereignty and accelerate growth, Atmanirbharta is the vehicle. And that means reduce independence or import independence, boost dependency, and boost the national innovation. That's the only way you can do to strengthen the what is called sovereignty. Now, many people mistake, because it has become a buzzword these days. And I started talking about in 2017-18 in NITI Aayog, because most of the time people were talking of technology and we should be able to do IT and IT as services. That is the time I started talking in NITI Aayog that our research should focus on deep tech technologies. So deep tech was defined as an advanced and often disruptive technology, which are going to make a tremendous change as far as the economy is concerned. It should be through discoveries, innovation, and significant research breakthroughs. It aims to solve the complex challenges, unlock opportunities significantly, impact the industries, economies, and the societies that are disruptive. And nation's ability to independently create. So, because deep tech sovereignty, you should be able to create yourself, control it, and innovate the core technologies without critical dependency on foreign technology ecosystem. The right side diagram here indicates what are the critical technologies like big data, nanotechnologies, blockchain, quantum computing, robotics, advanced medical and so on. Since morning, many of the speakers have talked about it. Why deep tech matters? Because if you want to have sovereignty, the deep tech sovereignty is a must. For Viksit Bharat, for India's vision, deep tech sovereignty is not just about competitiveness. It is about autonomy in economic, defense, scientific and cultural capabilities. That's what we need. We need deep tech for national security. We need deep tech for economic growth and job creation, which expands into manufacturing, R&D startups, skilled employment, and we should all build indigenously. Strategic autonomy is important to come out of what is called import dependencies, to reduce the risk vulnerabilities that I mentioned to you about the COVID, and also the missile technology control regimes, and also even in the nuclear sector, we are subjected to a nuclear supply, what is called NPT, and also CTBTs and things like that. And supply chain questions. Recently, China stopped supplying the rare earth magnets, and that put all our e-vehicle program into jeopardy. So this restricts innovation that has to be taken care of. Now, for deep tech sovereignty, there is an architecture which we propose. India must build systems across 5 linked pillars. First of all, we should have a strategic vision and governance, a clear long-term roadmap defining priority tech domains. We can't be doing everything, so we have to prioritize. And funding and regulatory pathways. There used to be multiple platforms for funding, and we used to get what is called subcritical and diffuse funding. That's not the right way of doing deep tech. Deep tech is not just doing early investment. Deep tech requires infrastructure. Deep tech requires huge pockets to make investment. Then only you will be able to reach the excellence in this area. Then, of course, you should have milestone and performance matrices. You can't be doing open-ended without setting out what exactly you want to achieve. So there should be a performance matrix for that. And, of course, there should not be any silos. There should be institutional alignment among the ministries. Innovation in economy entrepreneurship is another pillar where you should book on easier IP ecosystem, tax incentives in R&D, deep tech venture capital funds. In fact, we are finding very difficult. People are ready to invest in IT and IT services, but when it comes down to investing in, for example, fuel cells or electrolyzers, or for example, in the solar system, or even doing the motors for the wind turbines and so on, we find people are not willing to make investments. So we need venture capital funds in that area. Public-private consortium labs and tech adoption incentives. Foundational infrastructure, there has to be, if you don't have today a very good data center, which is based upon AI computers, high performance computers, data ecosystem, you cannot do artificial intelligence. You need fabrication and manufacturing facility to support that kind of infrastructure. You need talent and education and skill which will be able to use that infrastructure and produce goods. So future-ready curriculum in the education institutions, specialist fellowships are needed. And we should also reverse the brain drain. The best of our brain is going abroad and not coming back. We have to reverse that. And finally, there should be a diplomatic and standard leadership. You know, we showed standard leadership in the case of 5G, and as a result, India is one of the cheapest 5G supplier today because we took the initiative at the international platform to set out the standards which are suitable for Indian ecosystem. So that's more important. The key stakeholders in deep tech, the core is, of course, scientific breakthroughs and engineering innovations, but we should have a startup ecosystem. We should have universities and research institutions. I was discussing with ICFI, who used to be earlier the chairman and director, now he says he is advising them, and also many others. Our universities, particularly the state universities, are not able to contribute at all into the research ecosystem of the country. It's only the national universities, national central universities, some private institutions, and some national institutions of higher importance, where contribution to R&D is significant. Now that should go. We have to make our universities to contribute. So research institutions are important. We need dedicated incubators and accelerators for deep tech. We need entrepreneurs. We need venture capitalists and business angels. And we should have the support of the established corporates. There are corporates who are very happy to make investment in the foreign universities. They will open a chair with a $10 million chair or $20 million. But many of them shy away from making similar investment in our universities. That should be avoided. Enabling environment, without good environment, you can't do that. Government and public institutions should be there. International organizations should be supported. Customers and end users, because the product has to be used, so there has to be customers. We have been advocating that all the output of startup companies, all the output of all the incubators and accelerators and companies, startup companies, the government should be the first procurer. For all government procurement, these products should be made use of, whether it is state government or the central government. While there are certain regulations, certain advisories issued by the central government, but most of the state governments would not like to follow that. They follow their own regimes. That should be avoided. Industry associations, they are very important. CII, FICCI, many organizations, they do a lot of thinking, but I think they have to also get into an enabling environment to promote deep tech. Natural resources are important because you can't do deep tech unless you have critical raw materials, you have critical inputs. You can't have batteries if you don't have lithium, you don't have cobalt, nickel, so many things. So natural resources are important. And most of it is the media should play a major role. That means you have to take it. The outreach has to be there in a big way. Where do we stand in respect to that? Now this graph shows you the left first corner, you show the bubble size indicates how many startups are there. So you can see the USA has the largest bubble. Then comes UK, then comes India. So India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Hosts about 4,000 plus deep tech startups. And we have raised almost about $10 billion since 2019. So that's a good number. The city of Bangalore itself accounts for more than 25 to 30% of India's deep tech startups, followed by Delhi NCR, 15 to 20%, and Mumbai about 10 to 12%. Mind it, Hyderabad name is missing here. So that should be corrected. Artificial intelligence is the top focus for the founders and the investors. 74% of the new deep startups in 2023 centered around artificial intelligence. 86% of the funded startups having an AI focus today. And it dominates patent filings, making up 41% of deep tech partners. India is almost 3.6 thousand number of deep tech startups across leading ecosystems. So we are sitting number 3 there. Now, deep tech should also define for sovereignty what are the technologies you have to develop. And I have been telling since 2015 that there are 25 technologies which are of disruptive nature, which will define the century tomorrow. And those technologies are listed here. I'll not read out all of them because all of you know that, but all of them are important, whether it is AI or drug discovery or synthetic biology. In the energy, while our focus has been on renewables, but I think the next focus should be fusion energy. Fusion energy is the one which is going to everlast non-carbon. Now the SMRs have come, small modular nuclear reactors, which will replace all the captive power plants and so on. Robotics and automation will come. You have 5G and 6G is going to emerge. So big data analytics, all of them are the critical disruptive technologies which will bring deep tech sovereignty tomorrow. I will now tell you in the item by item. The deep tech sovereignty, IT, AI, how will you achieve? We must build indigenous AI compute infrastructure. You know that Government of India started a high performance computing program. I chaired the technical committee, and today we have high performance computers, supercomputers to the tune of about 20 petaflop. So we are reaching that level. But we have to go to exaflop. So that is the system. And now the AI compute has to be increased. So develop indigenous AI chips. We are dependent on all our products using the imported chips. We have to develop our own AI chips. The GPUs have to come from us. The RISC-V based GPUs to be designed and developed by a city in Hyderabad. We have immense capability here, but we are yet to take initiative in that area. Create high quality sovereignty data assets. Build indigenous foundational models. I was very happy to hear that some of our people are today developing the foundation models. They are present in this audience also, very happy. Build secure AI infrastructure for strategic sectors. You have seen AI is a double-edged weapon. Today you saw in the newspaper, Anthropic has been banned by US. because they have gone to an extent that it is going to remove all the Group 3, Group 4, Group 2 workers out of the job. The legal fraternity is worried that lawyers will have no job, the researchers will have no job. So we have to always look at what kind of AI infrastructure, strategic sector we have to do with man in the loop, and humanity should not go into peril, but it should prosper. Participate in global AI standard setting. What we have done so far. Today, we have Sarvam AI, a massive 105 billion parameter model supporting 22 Indian language. We have Bharat Gen AI, a 17 billion parameter mixture of experts model designed for public service. Vaidya 2.0 healthcare model. Bhashini, a real-time voice-to-voice translation in 20 languages. Adivani, India's first AI-powered translational platform dedicated to preserving and promoting tribal languages. We have a national quantum mission. We must build indigenous quantum hardware. You know, for doing the research in quantum computing, the dilution refrigerator has to be imported. And there's a queue for getting it from the foreign countries because not much of it is being produced in large numbers. So people are waiting for 6 months, 8 months before a dilution refrigerator lands here. The cryogenic technology is known to us. Why can't we build ourselves? So that's the kind of initiative we had to take for building hardware capability. Strengthening quantum materials. The same thing is valid for materials. And cryogenic ecosystem, because unless we do that, you can't do quantum. Create a national quantum supply chain strategy. We are talking of quantum computing, quantum materials, quantum communication, quantum sensors. In all cases, I think supply chain is an important parameter. We have to develop our own quantum software stack. Again, we are building, for example, if AI, can give you an example. If Python was not there, many of you will not be doing AI in this country. Where is Indian Python? That's the point I would like to raise in front of you. Accelerate post-quantum cryptography. Where are we in terms of this? I would like to say QPI Indus is a 25 qubit. Now I think they are claiming about 64 qubits. Kaveri processor 64 qubits. Long distance QKD currently almost about 2,000 kilometers we are able to achieve. Satellite quantum ISRO has done for hundreds of meters now. Quantum diamond microscope, IIT Bombay and team has done indigenous microscope for advanced magnetic field imaging systems. In semiconductors, I think we took a lot of initiatives in the 80s when the first Mohali foundry was set up, but it got into trouble because of fire, and it took 10 years for us to restart. By the time the technology goes from what used to be few microns to nanometers, and as a result, we are trying to now catch up. We have to build indigenous fabrication ecosystem, strengthening semiconductor design sovereignty. In fact, that is one area. Most of us say that India is the largest design house for chips, VLSI. But when I go to a company in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Pune or Madras or Bombay or even Gurgaon, and I ask them, please design from beginning a chip for me that will do this function. They said, no, we can't design. We can do whatever is given to us by our foreign companies. It can be a communication link or it could be a memory device or something, but we can't do the full chip. Now that is a tragedy. Being the largest design pool in the country, we don't have the capability to do what is called system engineered chip for our nation. I think we have to overcome such issues. Deep materials ecosystem, encourage equipment, tooling and capabilities. Again, I'm telling you, if you want to use semiconductors, one of the major things is going to be for a wafer foundry to be set up, that you have to stand in the queue at Netherlands company ASML for getting EUV or some of the other lithographic equipments and so on, because there are very few suppliers in the world. So while you are ready to invest money, but you have to queue up because the whole world has woken up to the requirement of semiconductors today. Today what we have achieved, we have a made in India chip, 32 processor, a space chip by ISRO, Dhruva 64, 1 gigahertz, 64-bit dual microprocessor. We have number of schemes under the semiconductor mission like Micron Sanat plant with 22,516 crores ATMP facility. Tata PSMC Dholera 19,000 crores, a mega fab in Dholera. Tata CG Power OSAT, India's first end-to-end OSAT. And Tata Electronics OSAT plant 27. These are some of the schemes which are going to see the light of the day by 27-28. I hope it will be able to solve our problem as a nation in the semiconductor. Biotechnology once upon a time was not considered as a disruptive technology, but over the years it has taken the front end as far as biotechnology is concerned. So sovereignty in biotechnology becomes important. We must build platform, establish sovereign genomic and bioinformatic infrastructure, strengthen advanced biomanufacturing capacity, invest in synthetic biology and bioinformatics and biofoundries, strengthen biosecurity and pandemic preparedness. We have done significantly well. Our BioRec and DBT, one of the two departments, and now the BioE3 program, which has been launched recently. We have done BIRSA 101, first indigenous CRISPR-based gene therapy for sickle cell disease. Genome Me India project milestone, about 10,000 individuals from 99 diverse Indian populations. Sequencing of data has been achieved, genome sequencing. We have successfully conducted the first in-human gene therapy clinical trial for severe hemophilia and edited DEP1 gene in rice, creating a new cultivar that offers 20% increase in yield. And of course, conducted muscle stem cell experiments on the International Space Station, which was recently done, Axiom 4 mission. So there is a tremendous amount of role which the research has to play in deep tech sovereignty. Indigenous design and manufacturing capabilities in semiconductors, microprocessors, system on chip, AI accelerators, GPUs, memory devices, and controllers are required. Biopharma, chromatography resins, optical biosensors, diagnostic enzymes, and nanostructured membranes have to be developed. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, the tensor processing unit. In fact, we are all importing neural processing units, secure embedded AI systems, AI data center cooling systems, all of them have to be done. In terms of, we have to anchor the R&D breakthrough science and create high-value IPs, because these outcomes will lead to reduced import dependence and strengthen our R&D ecosystem. In the case of technological security, particularly for defense, we have to be ready with our navigation electronics, tactical communication devices, missile guidance electronics, propulsion sensors like LIDAR, GPS, INS, and so on. We have to strengthen our cyber security, cyber warfare capabilities, and advancing the space security, because the next center for warfare is the space warfare. So space security has to be that will only enhance our national security. Advancing smart manufacturing, green hydrogen, solar storage, and digital infrastructure. Energy efficient computing. Our data centers are going to gulp a huge energy amount. We have to go for energy efficient computing. Geospatial modeling, which will enhance the environmental monitoring. These are the outcomes for that. The research has to transform. Currently, the Indian research ecosystem is largely focused on knowledge generation and publication oriented. As Honorable Prime Minister said, translation research has to be done, IP generation has to be done. So we have to do not just one kind of a research, it should be multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, transdisciplinary, and interdisciplinary. We have to follow that route. And the methodology for that is, research does not alone build industries. It must be translated, validated, protected, and scaled. Since morning you have heard this word scale. Our main problem is we are ready to do our startups with a certain amount of things. But to scale up, the venture capitalists are not coming in a big way to take it from a few tons per year to hundreds of tons or 1,000 tons per year in terms of any product. And same thing is valid for electronics, same thing is valid for materials, and also on. So research and innovation becomes business, and where India's scientific strength becomes economic sovereignty. This is the diagram from discovery to global competence. How do you achieve? That can be achieved through that. Now, there are two major things that help today in the deep tech sovereignty from research. And translation ecosystems, the strategic bridge where frontier research becomes sovereignty capability, like Technology Transfer Office, which converts public funded research into desirable or defensible IPs, startups and state license. Incubators and deep tech accelerators. These are the two agencies which provide lab access, prototyping facilities, regulatory guidance, and capital for long gestation technologies. Public procurement and mission program I mentioned to you. These are the two things like accelerators and incubators. Very little difference between the two, but the overlap is a collaborative environment with access to extensive resources and mentors and the de-risking what they can do. People use the term accelerators and incubators almost in a synonymous mode, but I think there are minor differences, and those should be noted as given here. India's research and ecosystem landscape. Today, you can see third highest producers of research papers, largest startup ecosystem, sixth in IP filing, 125 unicorn startups, 150 total number of Sunicorns, that means those who are above 100 million and likely to teach 1 billion shortly. And 49th in network readiness, fourth startup added per year, 100,000 plus patents granted between 23 and 24, 45 listed new age tech companies, and 65 billion valuation of the Indian startups. So you can see that we are number 3 with respect to as far as the volume of papers in the top 10 cited journals are concerned. How do you say that you are good in STI? One of the indicators is the Global Innovation Index. Global Innovation Index is calculated based upon innovation input sub-index and innovation output index. For innovation input sub-index, they look at what kind of institutions you have, what is the political environment, what is the regulatory environment, what is the business environment, do you have the ease of doing business or ease of doing research. Recently, we did a project in NITI Aayog, and we found that India's one of the major problem is that our ease of doing research is mired with bureaucratic challenges, both inside the institutions and outside. We have to look at that. Human capital, in terms of education, I said future-ready people, tertiary education, how good it is, and research and development ecosystem, how it is. In infrastructure, how is the ICT, how is the general infrastructure. In market sophistication, whether you have credit agencies, we have investments coming, whether trade, competition, and market is there. And business sophistication, how knowledge workers are able to be employed, how innovation linkage are there to the market, and how knowledge is absorbed into business entities. In terms of innovation output, what are the knowledge and technology output in terms of knowledge creation, knowledge impact, knowledge diffusion, and creativity output in terms of what are the intangible assets, creative goods, and so on. So all this put together, they are able to do what is called Global Innovation Index. And where have we achieved what we have achieved over the years? In 2015, our Global Innovation Index was 81, and today we have 38. But our aim is to come in the first 10. And many small countries like Singapore, Denmark, and all that, they come in the first 10 today, Israel for that matter. I think we have to make a lot of persistent effort to get through innovation into the first 10. Government has taken a lot of initiatives in this area, and India is pursuing deep tech sovereignty through a coordinated multi-pronged strategy. We have National Deep Tech Startup Policy with 20,000 crore allocated in the union budget this year. We have RDI fund of 1 lakh crore for private sector driven innovation and environment to accelerate. And we have National Quantum Mission, we have National Semiconductor Mission, and there are other institutions like India AI mission of 10,000 crores, National Supercomputing Mission, as I mentioned to you, Atal Innovation Mission, which have taken innovation to the schools and the secondary schools. It is a wonderful experiment which India has done, and we are really benefiting out of it. Bio-E3 policy of about 10,000 crores to promote biotechnology into industry. We have Science Technology Innovation Policy. We have National Cyber Physical System Mission. We have ANRF, which has come with 50,000 crore layout. And I think that is going to translate the complete research ecosystem in the country. Startup Fund, National Initiative for Developing Harnessing Innovation. So you see, multiple platforms are there. All of us have to make use of them. One of the major problems today is our research is largely funded by the government agencies. You see the India, if the rest of the thing you see, the private and non-profit agencies are maximum. Government funding is minimum. Whereas India is 56.1% is from the government, 36.8% from business, 7.1% from the higher education, and 0 from the private non-profit organization. So private investment has to come if we have to reach these objectives. Government of India has launched for improving this innovation a Prime Minister's Research Fellowship Scheme where 10,000 fellowships will be provided under PMRF under scheme in the next 5 years. This is a very good scheme and people are getting benefited out of this. Then we have national parks which have been set up, IIT research parks, anchors, deep technologies, which are for building indigenous frontier technologies, industry academia interaction. Sir, I just want to ensure what is the type of industry academia interaction which is happening in IIT Chennai Research Park, even in IIT Bombay. I think are the examples how we can promote cross-disciplinary collaboration and talent development retention. All this is part of that. You have ISC Research Park, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, Kharagpur, and many other places. Sir, we cannot do without global collaboration. Engaging in global collaboration will enable access to cutting-edge infrastructure, joint funding and commercialization. We have Indo-US Foundation, where you focuses on AI, quantum, health, and so on. We had Indo-Japan AI and Semiconductor Research Foundation collaboration. Again, same focus. Horizon Europe, with the R&D partnership with European countries in biotechnology, climate tech, AI, and so on. Indo-German also we have similar objective. Indo-American Space Technology is their Clean Energy Innovation Hub. Indo-Israel Defense Technology and Cyber Security Research Alliance, very strong alliance. And now, yesterday only our Honorable Prime Minister has signed multiple MOUs basically to promote this collaboration. So path to 2047 is like this. First of all, we have to go our investment from 0.6 to 0.7% in S&T and I to 1.5 to 2% of GDP. We should build mission-driven research agencies. We have to strengthen deep tech financing. Deep tech financing, as I mentioned to you, requires a separate focus compared to early stage funding as we are doing today. Advanced manufacturing clusters have to be created, and deep university industry integration has to be achieved through the various measures which I was talking about. And we have to also have a strategic technology diplomacy. If we don't have, then we will be isolated. So from 2025, when we can build strategic policy and research infrastructure, to scale in 2037-47 is our objective to become a major developed nation through S&T. The sectors to be created are in many. I mentioned all of them: AI, quantum, cyber, space, communication, healthcare, education, all of them have to be done. Industry, manufacturing industry 4.0, now 5.0, energy, SMRs, fission and fusion, infrastructure development in smart grids, hyperloop, pilots. These are the areas where we have to focus. Agriculture, genetically resilient crops, precision firing, and good governance and security, law and order, AI in policing, forensic genomics, smart surveillance, private checks, national security, dual-use drone technologies, satellite-based intelligence, indigenous defense chips, and sustainability, environmental protection, and climate change. All of them have to be part of our research focus. In this, the people who are sitting here, majority, the role of the youth in building, as our Honorable Prime Minister said, is very important. Embracing technology and innovation, driving digital transformation and fostering a culture of innovation to boost economic growth. We have to foster entrepreneurship among the young, creation of startups and small business. We have to enhance education and skill development, prioritize quality education to create future-ready youth people, promote sustainable development, leading initiatives for environmental conservation, renewable energy, and so on. To conclude, I would say Viksit Bharat with deep tech sovereignty means an India that innovates core technologies, controls critical supply chains, ensures digital, scientific, and economic autonomy. Indian youth represent the decisive force that can transform India's democratic strength into technological leadership and economic resilience. Through scientific excellence, technological entrepreneurship, and inclusive development, the youth of India can build a nation that is economically advanced, technologically sovereign, environmentally sustainable, socially inclusive, and globally influential. So India's future, according to our Honorable Prime Minister, will be built by young innovators who create, disturb, and lead. Let us take it forward on this National Science Day. The youth of India, along with the experienced people who are sitting here, will take through innovation India into a developed nation by 2047. Let's all promise for that. Thank you very much.